Hello YouTubers, it's DasGregor, and I'm going to try something new this evening. I'm going to try to tell you a story that I wrote a few years back in the early 90s. The title of my story is The Pallette of Life, and I'd like to start by reading first the first paragraph, and then hopefully orating the rest. I have heard the phrase that a painting is worth 1,000 words. Pictures, whether paintings or photographs, tell each of us a story. A painting is a man's imagination run full of ideas, while a photograph is a capture of beauty or reality of our setting in life. I love art. I think it's one of the most fascinating things in our history. To be able to look at people's interpretations of life through a painting or a picture, it's just magnificent what people find in themselves as they place on paper and canvas. I myself, I have no talent for writing. Yeah, writing. That's why I'm telling you this story. But I myself have no talent for painting or drawing. At a very early age, in fact at birth, I stopped breathing. And so I'm slightly crippled with my right hand. I have very little feeling. I cannot control my fingers. The whole right side is slightly paralyzed. So I've been doomed or blessed with the ability to write in my spare time. But I've always wanted to collect paintings. I've always found them to be a fascination. I have many all over my home, and I keep them where everybody can see them. But there's one in particular that I like the most. I call it My Cottage. It's a simple painting, and most critics would say that it's not even worth mentioning. But I don't think that art should be based upon a critic's view, but what it means personally to me and you. And so, I like this painting. It's a simple, scenic scene with nothing more than a cottage overlooking mountains in the background. There's a small horse-drawn carriage there on the side, a dirt path in the front. Just a simple country scene. Something that sometimes you think, if I could live anywhere and be at peace, for me it would be in the countryside, with rolling hills and beautiful scenery, in a small cottage that's what I need and not what I want, but just the necessities that are there. And that's why I think this painting means so much to me. Well, one day I came home from work, and as usual, I went through the hallway. I was going to the kitchen. I like to stop and just look at this painting and just think about how wonderful it is and how I wish sometimes that I was there instead of the city that I live in. But this time, I looked at the painting and there was something odd, something slightly different. As I searched at the painting, I realized the horse-drawn carriage was missing. There in its place were the tracks that it made as it left. I thought to myself and wondered, maybe I've just always thought there was a horse-drawn carriage. Maybe it's always been missing. No, I'm pretty sure it's always been there. I'm not sure if I'm losing my mind, but maybe I'm just hungry. I went ahead and left the hallway, walked into the kitchen, decided to make myself some bachelor stew. It's got some great ingredients, but unfortunately I can't be sharing them with you, because it's a top secret recipe that I received from the Bachelor's Club for Single Men, or the BCSM, as we call it for short. Now it may seem a little redundant, but it's our club and we can call it anything we want, you know. So as I said, I made myself a bit of bachelor stew, and as I was eating it and thinking about the painting, I thought, I must have just seen the painting wrong. After I was done with my bachelor stew, I had a bit of single man's delight, which once again I can't divulge, but it's called a bit of ice cream, and whipped cream and a cherry, and it's very good. But once again, a top secret recipe from the VCSM, so I can't be sharing it with you. Afterwards, I decided I'd do the dishes, and as I walked back through the hallway back to the living room where I had a book to read, I stopped and looked at the painting again. And you know, as I stared at the painting, I saw again. There was a horse-drawn carriage, and it was there. I don't know if I'm seeing things or if this is real, but it sure seems real to me. That horse-drawn carriage, it was gone a few hours ago, but now it's back. I glanced at the painting because I've stared at this painting for hours on end, and I know this painting from every side and angle. It's one of my favorites. Nothing else seemed to be out of place. Everything seemed to be proper. But then I looked at the window, and I noticed that there was a small light glowing through the window. And I thought, there'd never been a window with light in it before. It's a daytime scene. Yet, of course, nighttime for me in the evening. But I don't remember ever seeing a glow from the window. And the curtains seemed to be drawn just a slight bit more than the usual. Now, am I seeing things? I can't really tell. But just as I think I'm going nuts, my doorbell rings. Oh, well, at least I have a distraction now. So I go to answer the door, and there standing there is Peter. And Peter comes in. He hands me my camera, and he says, I thank you very much for letting me borrow your camera there. My photo shoot went very well, and my clients were very happy with the pictures. Mine should be out of the repair shop soon, so I really appreciate you lending me your camera. And I said, of course, no problem. He looks at me again and says, is there something the matter with you? And I say to him, no, I'm fine, but something just seems a little odd. So he says, well, what's odd? You seem like something's bothering you. So will you come look at something for me? Because it just seems strange to me. So I take him into the hallway and I show him the painting of my cottage. I said, does anything look different? And he looks at it for a moment or two. He says, well, what am I supposed to see different? Because it looks the same to me. Well, I could have swore earlier, I say to him, that the cottage changed slightly, that there was a light on just a moment ago, but there's no light now. And in a couple hours ago, the horse-drawn carriage was gone. But now it's back. But I swear, it's closer to the cottage than it was before. Peter began to laugh at me and think, you're silly, Nathan. What's the matter with you? You've been working too hard. You need to take a rest. Stop staring at all these paintings and get a life. I brushed it off, just thinking that I had been working too hard. And I went ahead and we went to the living room. We visited for a bit more. And then Peter needed to leave, so he left. And I was once again alone. So I got out my book and I read for a few hours and decided it was bedtime. But my mind kept wandering back to the painting. I kept thinking something was a little different. As I tried to sleep that night, I tossed and I turned. I kept having nightmares of lights turning on and off, of carriages backing out and going and coming and disappearing and coming back. I think I woke about 3:30 in the morning and said I needed a drink. So I walked back out to the hallway towards the kitchen to drink. And without thinking, just glanced at the painting and looked at it. And I saw the glow again in the light. I saw the glow of a light in the window. And I knew, I'm not mistaken this. This has changed. There's something with this painting. So I call out, Is anyone there? Is someone in that house? And I look around. Why I look around? It's 3:30 in the morning. It's my house. I live alone. But I guess the silliness of asking if anybody's in a painting just strikes me as so odd that I'm embarrassed even to think that I said it. But about that time, I think I saw someone's face show into the window. It was a beautiful woman. She had long brown hair. And emerald green eyes. She was slender and beautiful. I'd never met anybody so wondrous as this person that I was seeing in the window of the cottage. And something seemed so familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And after I saw her in the window, I saw the door open to the cottage, and she stepped out. And oh, such a beauty I'd never beheld before. And she came out and she said, "Hello, are you talking to me?" And I said, I don't know if I'm talking to you, but do you live in that cottage?" She says, "Yes, I've lived here my whole life." I said, "Well, what's your name?" And she says to me, her name is Serenity. And I stand there and I ponder whether I'm still asleep. Maybe I'm having a nightmare. Maybe I've lost my mind. I pinched myself to see if I was still asleep, but does that really work? If you're asleep and you pinch yourself, is it just your dream pinching yourself? I'm not sure. I'm not sure of anything anymore. What's real? What's not real? This is one of the strangest occurrences that's ever happened to me before. But I talked to her for a bit more, and she introduced herself. She said she's lived in the cottage as long as she can remember for all of her existence. That she's seen me through the window, and she's often wanted to talk to me, but I've always seemed a little too distant for her, until this evening. We chatted for a while, and then she asked if I'd like to come to visit. Come to visit? How can I come to visit? You are in a painting, a tapestry that seems to be alive. How can I visit you, I ask myself, and how can I visit you, I ask her. And she says, just take a step of faith. Close your eyes. Take a step of faith. Why do we always do that? Why do we always close our eyes when we take a step of faith? Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. I put my hand out, and I took a step. I expected to hit the wall. That's what reality told me. That's what my senses told me. But just as I took that step, I felt this cool, warm breeze flow across my cheek. I felt the wind in my hair. What little hair I have. Back then I had a lot more. And I realized I'm in the painting. I turn back and look outside to see the blurry world of reality slowly swirling into non-existence to me. And I panic and begin to turn around to run away. And she calls out to me, "Stop, stop, please don't go. I've waited so long for you to come here. I've waited so long to talk to you, please. Come, have a cup of tea. I would love to talk and chat." And something seemed so peaceful, so calm, so proper about the whole situation, that without thinking I turned back to Serenity, and we walked into the cottage together to chat. The next day, Peter came by the house. He knocked and knocked, and there was no answer. He went around to the side where I've always kept a spare key, and he found the spare key and let himself in. He started to call out to me, "Nathan, Nathan, where are you? You missed a very important briefing this morning, and they're really worried. I told them I'd check up on you. Where are you?" He searches the house, but he doesn't find me anywhere. A little perturbed and a little upset, he stops in the hallway and leans against the wall, not realizing that he's just stopped in front of my favorite painting, the cottage. He stares at it for a moment, and he thinks to himself, I don't think I've ever noticed that before. There in front of him, in front of the beautiful cottage, along the grassy area, there stood a young, or should I say sat, a young couple, a man and a woman, with a picnic lunch. They looked happy, they looked content, and they looked like they always belonged right there. Peter shrugged his shoulders, didn't know what to think, locked up behind him, and left. Nathan was never heard from again. The end. Well, I hope you liked that story. I hope it was good. I know I stumbled over a few spots. I've got to work on that so that my presentation is a little better. But I hope you enjoyed it. And because of the length so far, I shall go tell you goodbye. So, auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, arrivederci, good night, good evening, good day, good morning. Whatever you're having, have it. And I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you until next time. Bye-bye.